Hello, everyone. Hi, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Carleen Spry. I am the awards administrator for the Golden Crown Literary Awards, and I want to welcome you. This is the first time we have ever had Goldie Finalist spotlights, so we're very excited about this. Now, for those of you who are new to the Golden Crown Literary Society, the GCLS recognizes and rewards quality literary works about women who love women, and we provide learning opportunities, encouragement, and assistance to new and established writers. We have a highly respected writing academy, an annual gathering of hundreds of readers, writers, publishers, editors. That's our annual conference, which is coming up this July. And we also have a monthly GCLS members only online book club. So we have a lot to offer. We invite you to learn more about the GCLS and perhaps even become a member by visiting our website at goldencrown.org. Now, just a few housekeeping items before we get started. We'll have some time at the end of the session for Q&A. So we'll try to get to as many questions as we can. Hopefully you're going to pepper these fabulous readers today with lots of questions. Please be sure to use the Q&A box in Zoom to submit a question. If you run into technical issues, please log out of the room and then log back in. That's usually going to resolve most issues. Now, we are very excited today to have iReadIndies.com as our sponsor. iReadIndies.com is excited to congratulate the Goldie Award finalists on their accomplishments and welcome all of our event attendees today. Now, in case you haven't heard, iReadIndies.com is a newly established collaboration of over 50 independent authors of women-loving women literature. Their mission is to bring more visibility to any who put their time, effort, and resources into self-publishing their work. So visit iReadIndies.com and see what it is that you've been missing. Okay, so that does it for the announcements. We're going to get started. So let me very briefly introduce you to our authors today. First, we have Becky Bohan, who will be reading from A Light on Altered Land, which is a finalist in general fiction. We'll also be hearing from Carolyn Elizabeth, who is reading from Dirt Nap, which is a finalist in romantic blend. And then D. Jackson Leigh will be reading from Blades of Bluegrass, which is a finalist in contemporary romance mid-length novels. Robin Hopkins and Jaimie Kelton are with us, and they'll be reading from If These Ovaries Could Talk, the Things We've Learned About Making an LGBTQ Family. And that's a finalist in nonfiction. And we'll be hearing from KJ reading from Kickback, which is a finalist in romantic blend. So welcome to everybody. We're excited to have you here. Let's kick things off and turn things over to Becky. So Becky, if you would give us just very briefly, 2-3 sentences. Who are you? What are you about? And then introduce us to your reading and share your reading with us.
I'm Becky Bohan. I live in North Fort Myers, Florida. And here's my book, A Light on Altered Land. It's my third published novel. A chance meeting in a coffee shop brings together Ellie Belmont, a widowed lesbian, and Catherine Kepler, a country club divorcee, both retired. Their friendship grows into love as they embark on a journey that takes them across the American West. This scene involves Ellie's spiritual crisis. It takes place in the University of Nebraska's Museum of Natural History. The image of dinosaurs tromping on a lush, steamy earth had thrilled Ellie as a child. But now, as she viewed their bones and reconstructed skeletons, what struck her was impermanence. Entire species thriving for eons had disappeared, and the very continent on which they strode had shifted its shape like a lava lamp. Her tribe was on the way to extinction. After its glorious blossoming in the 70s and 80s, the lesbian nation was fading into obscurity. Her generation had been pioneers, lesbian feminists owning their identity in the streets, at work, in politics. They had started women's presses, bookstores, and farms, put on music festivals. They had been outliers, fingers curled and upheld fists. Now those fingers bore gold bands. Outlaws and radicals morphing into butterflies, chased by wedding planners, their nets aloft. Queer and non-binary and gender fluid were settling atop the lesbian era, burying this precious stratum for future historians to unearth. The disappearing L, as one academic called it. Ellie shifted on the bench, her bones aware of the hard surface. She was a dinosaur, and it wasn't only as a lesbian. So much of what had been was past. Her academic career, her decades with Mary, her athleticism now whittled down to pickleball. She was a retired teacher who spent her mornings in a coffee shop and made annual runs to California for high potency cannabis oil. But she had lived her life with courage, hadn't she? She had been one of the pioneers. All that counted for something, didn't it? A warm movement startled Ellie. Mind if I join you? Catherine settled next to her. Sure, but I'm not in a very good mood. Tell me. Oh, I'm sitting here feeling sorry for myself. We struggled, we old lesbians, when things were hard. I don't begrudge the kids, though I wish they would recognize that we blazed the trail they trot down so easily. Catherine brushed a tear from Ellie's cheek. I feel so lost, so doomed, like one of these dinosaurs. We had such lofty expectations, Catherine. We thought we could overcome the patriarchy in our lifetime. Catherine smiled gently. Now that's what I call optimism. Life is too complex, Ellie said. All the apps, all the genders. I can't even keep track of the number of planets. We're all dinosaurs, you know. Our time is fleeting. Even my grandchildren. Catherine paused, a sudden catch in her throat. Even their time comes and passes. We'll all be extinct as individuals and eventually as a species. Even the earth, Ellie said. What's that saying? The sun also dies? Ellie laughed softly. I think you've conflated Hemingway with Eckhart Tolle. You mean even the sun will die? Yes, Catherine said, smiling. And think how wonderful, how miraculous it is that this tiny rock spinning in space has been gifted with life for billions of years. Aren't we lucky to have experienced it and to have lived in the era we did? We're the Woodstock generation, the anti-war and Earth Day generation. We rode the second wave of feminism, and you, Ellie Belmont, you got to feel the heartbeat of the Amazon nation. No other generation will have your experience. Ellie nodded. And trust me, Catherine continued, more waves of feminism are coming. Maybe a new and different Amazon nation will arise. Ellie brightened. Maybe the gender fluid will be the doulas. Exactly. We don't know what today's victories and setbacks are seeding for tomorrow. We only know that everything changes and every generation has to define its own culture. I'm thankful for what we've had and what we have now. They kissed then, their lips warm and giving. You know, Catherine murmured, the dinosaurs never really went extinct. Yes, Ellie's eyes sparkled. Birds. They're not what they once were, Catherine said, but then neither are we. And who's to say that something even better might emerge as humans evolve? They lingered then on the bench, alert as two owls perched in the tree of life, their talons entwined, contemplating matters of life and death, as museum goers drifted past like ash on future winds. Thank you.
Woo! Wild applause from the crowd. Yay! Thank you so much, Becky. That was fantastic. Okay, let's keep things going, and we're going to move on now, and we're going to hear from Carolyn Elizabeth.
All right, here I am. Thanks, Carleen, and thank you to the GCLS for giving us all this opportunity to share our stories. I will be reading from Dirt Nap, which is the second in the Curtis and Reynolds romantic thriller series that I published with Bella Books. It picks up right after the first book, Gallows Humor, where our main character, Corey Curtis, a pathologist assistant in charge of autopsy services, and Thayer Reynolds, a physician in the emergency department, first get together while accidentally solving a crime. In Dirt Nap, Corey and Thayer are now navigating their new relationship while bumbling into another mystery. The excerpt I'll be reading from takes place after Corey and Thayer argue. Corey learns and then witnesses Thayer being sexually harassed at work, and as you might expect, reacts rather dramatically. Thayer has some harsh words for her, and Corey now has her feelings hurt and takes off to her mixed martial arts gym with her best friend Rachel. She promptly gets her nose broken, and then she heads to the bar to get drunk. That is where Thayer catches up to her to make things right between them. Thayer kept her expression carefully neutral and assessed her. Her eyes were glassy with drink and glittering in anger. Her nose looked broken, but the bones displaced only slightly. She wasn't wearing her glasses, probably because it was painful, but if she hadn't gotten a migraine from their fight or a broken nose, she was likely safe. Can we talk? Corey cocked her head. I think you said it all earlier. Thayer considered her for a moment. Rachel, can you get a few things for me? A clean towel, a bag of ice, a beer, and 2 shots of tequila. Oh, and a basket of onion rings. She handed Rachel her credit card. Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thayer nodded to an empty booth in the corner. We'll be over there. I won't be, Corey sneered. Fine. Thayer moved over to the booth and slid in, knowing Corey wouldn't stay away for long. Rachel brought over a tray with everything she asked for, while Corey sulked at the bar. Thank you. Thayer helped herself to a shot and chased it with beer in a perfectly battered ring. God, I needed that. You okay? Rachel asked. It's been a day. I guess. Rachel gestured to the towels and ice. Think she's going to let you do that? I don't intend to tell her. Thayer replied and popped another onion ring into her mouth. Can't wait to see that. She looked past her to see Corey wobbling her way over. Well, stick around then. Rachel moved off while Corey clumsily slid into the booth across from Thayer and helped herself to the second shot and Thayer's beer. Thayer took a breath. You may be interested to hear that I put Watson Gregory III in his place after work, with witnesses. I don't expect he'll be bothering anyone again. Corey sucked on the bottle. Guess you put everyone in their place today, huh? Corey, I am so sorry. What I said to you was vulgar and hurtful, and I didn't mean it, not at all. Thayer reached across the table for her hands, but Corey jerked them out of reach. The first 2 I'll give you, but you sounded pretty sure of yourself. Thayer frowned at the naked hurt on her face. Corey, please, do you really think I would disrespect you like that? Pissing on my territory, swinging my dick around, as you so elegantly put it? That's bullshit, Thayer, and it kills me that you think that. Corey drained the beer and flagged to serve her down for more. I know, honey, I'm sorry, I am. I don't think that. It wasn't you that I was upset with. I know you were just being protective of me, and you would have done the same for a total stranger. That's who you are, and I love that about you. You are a righter of wrongs, and I should have thanked you instead of telling you off. I know what's in your heart, and you know what's in mine, so I know you believe me when I tell you I didn't mean it, and I am so sorry. Please forgive me. Thayer saw the moment of Corey's forgiveness in her eyes. Her expression relaxed, and she moved her hands across the table to reach for Thayer's. Well, I may have overreacted a little. I just saw him touching you, and you looked really distressed. I wanted to rip his goddamn arm off. I'm sorry if I embarrassed you at work. I didn't get you in trouble, did I? Because I can talk to... It's okay. I'm not in trouble. Thayer shook her head and laced their fingers together. You're not the only one who overreacted. I never meant to hurt you. Corey grinned sloppily. Apology accepted. Forgiveness granted. Thayer smiled gently, the weight of the day easing from her heart. May I come sit with you and make it up to you? Yes, but keep it PG. This is a family establishment. Thayer laughed as the bar was anything but and slid out of her side. Corey moved over to make room for her, and Thayer sat sideways in the booth so she could face her. She cupped Corey's face in her hands and placed a gentle kiss on her lips. I love you very much, she whispered, and smoothed her thumbs across her cheeks toward her nose. Put your arms around me. Corey did as she was told, wrapping her arms around Thayer's waist, lacing her fingers. That's a little tender, she winced as Thayer palpated the swollen tissue. I know. Thayer kissed her softly again. I'm sorry about this. She pressed her thumbs together sharply at the bridge of Corey's nose and pulled down and to the right, hearing the satisfying click as her nose realigned. Ah, fuck! Corey roared, jerking back and clutching at her face with both hands as blood started to pour again, seeping through her fingers. Thayer, what the fuck? Christ, that fucking hurt! She winced in sympathy and reached for the towel, prying Corey's hands away and pressing it to her nose. You'll thank me tomorrow, I promise.
Woohoo! All right. Yay. Another excellent reading. So let's move on. Keep it chugging along. And we're going to go to D. Jackson Leigh.
Hi. That was both great readings. I'm going to read from Blades of Bluegrass, the finalist in mid-length romance. This scene is between Lieutenant Teddy Alexander and her boss, Colonel Tom Winstead. They're both military and in the medical corps, and Tom has been Teddy's mentor, and they've known each other for many years, and so their relationship is a little more relaxed than the usual military relationship. And you'll understand that when we get into the scene. Colonel Tom Winstead took a deep breath and blew it out before leaning forward and handing the file to Lieutenant Teddy Alexander. This is a special case, Teddy, very high priority. What's so special about it? He averted his eyes. Remember the surgeon who explained the special surgery required for the bionic prosthetic that allows a patient to actually experience sensation? Teddy remembered his research and early results were amazing. Yes, so that surgeon was flown to Lonsdale to perform this soldier's amputation the day she was coptered in from the field hospital. Wow, who does she know to get that kind of treatment? Her father is Senator Brock Story. Teddy frowned. The guy rumored to be our next Secretary of Defense? That's him. War hero, chairman of the Senate Arms Committee. He has high-ranking friends in all branches of the service, powerful political friends, and is near the top in public opinion polls. Hell, I don't know why he isn't running for president. She opened the folder and scanned it. So, what is Lieutenant Britt Story doing on a farm in Kentucky? If she had that kind of surgery, I'd expect her to be rehabbing near MIT or Duke to take advantage of their bionic limb research programs. Colonel Winstead nodded, stood, and walked around his desk to close the door before returning to his chair. There's something about this case that doesn't smell right to me. Story was up for re-enlistment 3 weeks ago, but the Army involuntarily extended her enlistment. Teddy shrugged. That's normal protocol when the medical discharge paperwork, while the medical discharge paperwork is processed. What's not protocol is letting her take leave and go home. He shrugged. I'm getting pressure to accept her as the first candidate in our project. They want to return her to service. Teddy scanned the file again. Is she Black Ops or something? Tom waited until she looked up from the file and met his gaze. This is just between us, Teddy. He waited until she nodded her consent. Rumor has it she knows something the brass doesn't want her to talk about, something she can't discuss if she's still in the ranks. Teddy sighed. Seems like they always stuck her with the difficult patients. So, when's her first appointment here? That's the other thing. She isn't coming to us. You're going to her. Teddy stared at him. You want me to drive 45 minutes there and back every day? He shook his head. Nope. Arrangements have been made to billet you there at the farm until you can evaluate her work challenges and teach her how to overcome them. Are you kidding? Who in the world approved that? Orders directly from General George Banks. He was just promoted. But we've got a ton of work to do on our project. Why not give this to someone else? Because you're a medic who went back to school and got double certified in physical and occupational therapy. You should be able to meet all her health and rehab needs. And you can work on the project from there. Nobody has to be tied to an office these days. All you need are your notes, your laptop, and your cell phone. But Story is your priority, Lieutenant. But velvet gloves on this one. Both those men, Senator Story and General Banks, will have a lot of power over military appropriations in the coming year, especially funding for special projects like ours. They want Captain Story in this program. They want her to stay in the Army. We don't have to know why. We do have to follow orders. She stared at him. I don't have a choice in this, do I? Has the Army ever given you a choice? Good point.
Yay, outstanding. Well done. Okay, guys, I'm really enjoying these readings today. This is fantastic. So now let's hear from Robin Hopkins and Jaimie Kelton.
Hi, everyone. It's just amazing. So far, these readings have been great. Thank you so much for sharing and allowing us to be here. I'm Jaimie Kelton.
And I'm Robin Hopkins, and we're the co-hosts of the podcast, If These Ovaries Could Talk, and we're also the co-authors of this book, If These Ovaries Could Talk, which you can't see because of my Golden Girls background. If These Ovaries Could Talk, the things we've learned about making an LGBTQ family.
Yes, that is right, Robin. And here's the book. I have it. Our book is all about LGBTQ families and how we make them. Do we go the science route? Do we care if our kids share our genetic material? Is money an issue when it comes to choosing our path? But the book is also about what life is like for LGBTQ families. We talk about being out for your kids because, let's face it, they are always listening. And we talk about what it's like for queer spawn.
Absolutely. And the book is really unique in that it sets up each topic. For instance, there's a chapter about the cost of creating your family. And then you get to hear each of our stories, Jaimie and I's stories, and how we each made our families. But then there's also a collection of LGBTQ voices across the rainbow sharing our family journey experiences. And then there's also a large fire outside of my window, apparently.
Always.
Never fails whenever we're recording. And the stories are funny, they're touching, they're heartwarming, they're sometimes sad or exhausting, but they are always beautiful, as we like to say.
Yes, yes. So here is a reading from our book. It's from chapter 9, and it's called Talking to Your Kids About Their Family.
All right, here we go.
Okay. My theory and the way I parented them about all this stuff is when they ask a question, I would answer it. And then I would say, do you want to know more? Judy Gold. Disclosure is a really important word for LGBTQ families, and a fancy new term we learned on a recent episode from an LGBTQ family building expert who we lovingly refer to as Lisa the therapist. Disclosure. Noun. The act of talking to your child about how they were made and preparing them to handle their differences in a world that is predominantly heterosexual and cisgender. When, where, and how do you decide to talk to your kids about where they come from? For our families, this question is a doozy that requires some intensive thought. To a certain extent, the decision to talk to our kids has already been made for us because we can't pass as traditional families. At some point, whether it be in elementary school or daycare, kids recognize that LGBTQ families are different from other families, and they start asking questions. There's a lot of research out there suggesting that the earlier you talk to your kids about their story, the better it is for them. But it's important to make your conversations age appropriate and let the kid lead. Don't answer more than is asked. Start small and add to the conversation over time.
The good news is there are more and more families like ours out there, and that means there's more support. There are books to read to your kids, educational resources available online, support groups, therapists that specialize in family building, and LGBTQ family classes and programming at community centers. What we heard from family after family is that while the conversation can be uncomfortable for some parents, the kids seem to take it in stride and adjust to their family structure. Now, this doesn't mean that there won't be bumps in the road, but as intentional as we have to be in making our families, chances are good that the behavior will carry over into the way we parent. Below are just a few examples of the families we talk to who are striving to help their kids become comfortable and proud of who they are and how they got here.
Stacey Ann Chin. There was no special moment when Stacey Ann told her daughter Zuri about how she was made. It's just always been a part of their conversation. Stacey Ann. My daughter has always known, and she'll tell you. My sperm came from Baba, and my egg came from my mom. Then the doctor put them together and whisked them around. Then they put the egg back in my mom, in her uterus. I was in there for like 9 months, and the doctor could have cut me out, or I could have come out through the vagina. But I wouldn't come out through the vagina, maybe because it was like icky. And so he had to cut the thing. And he was like, why isn't she? Oh, and he pulled me out. And when I came out, I didn't cry. And he was like, why isn't she crying? It was because I didn't have anything to cry about.
Brian Esser. Always the lawyer, Brian believes in being straightforward with his kids when talking about their family story. Some people really give their kids like a script that the kids almost regurgitate back. And I'm not judging people who do that. I mean, do it your way. But we've tried to give our kids age-appropriate information and let them think about how they feel about it and let them internalize their own story.
Emma T. Emma, daughter to Ray and Margie, felt a lot of pride in her family because of how open her moms were about their family story. Emma. My parents were so open about everything. Anything I asked was answered. That was the policy. So I knew where babies came from a lot earlier than other people. I asked things earlier, but I also got truthful answers. Like I was spoken to as an adult, even as a child. Jaimie. They didn't tell you that you came from a stork? Emma. No. Not only did they not lie about that stuff, but they answered honestly, almost beyond expectation. They really were honest. And I think I grew up, therefore, with a lot of pride and not with shame about our family.
Senator Zach Walz. You might remember Zach Walz as the young man who went viral giving a speech to the Iowa House of Representatives to support his two-mom family. Now he's a state senator and shared how open his moms were about their family when he was growing up. Zach. My moms were very straightforward with me about the donor. There are no secrets. They shared a recording that the cryobank did on CD. I think that's pretty normal. He had filled out a questionnaire. I could read that. We have a donor number, and my mom made up a name for him. It was Wolfgang, because that was the name that she had threatened to name me when she was talking about her pregnancy with my grandparents. My mom, Terry, God bless her, from before I could understand, told me stories about how I came to be. She talked about artificial insemination right out of the gate. I literally don't remember a time when I didn't know. There was never a moment where she sat me down and we talked about it. I just always knew. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yay. I hope you guys can hear me clapping because I actually am clapping. Great reading. And now we're going to wrap up our readings with Kickback from KJ. Let's hear it.
Hi, everyone. I'm reading from Kickback. And this book is set in the world of Australian rules football, which is a uniquely Australian type of football played on an enormous oval with a ball that is not round. And the players have to be very fit to play for the 80 minutes. And the women's competition is called the AFLW. It's very young. It's only been about 6 years, but I wrote the book as if it was only 2 years old. The two main characters, Cam. Cam is a reporter for a major Melbourne newspaper She's been told to write a series of fluffy articles about the players in the Women's League. These are articles that have nothing to do with football. And Sophia is a player for South Melbourne Club, and she dislikes these articles intensely. And she finds that she likes Cam but hates the articles, which is a massive dilemma for her, especially because they have to work together to solve the crime that occurs in this book. And it's to do with drugs and sport and media influence and misogyny and stuff like that. So the scene I'm reading is when Cam first visits the change rooms of the South Melbourne Club. Oh, wow. Somewhat vaguely, Cam remembered that there was a process for breathing and figured now that would be a great time to activate that knowledge. After her discussion with Bianchi yesterday, Cam wanted to find out exactly what Sophia had heard about these cheap vitamins, or whatever they were. Hence her after-game change room arrival. Of course, Sophia, lowering herself into an ice bath with every muscle defined on her tight abdomen and arms and shoulders and her nipples, and oh dear God, was not what she'd expected to stumble upon. It brought crashing to the forefront of her mind a scene from a movie that Jan and Francine had made her watch last year when they were worried about her recurring melancholy over Rachel. Immersion therapy, they'd called it. The actress, whoever she was, had portrayed a character who'd settled into an ice bath after some sort of athletic pursuit. Gymnastics, cheerleading, Cam couldn't let on, but the scene had just about made her spontaneously combust. And here's Sophia, all shoulders and damp hair and slipping into your ice bath wet dream. Cam forcibly closed her mouth. Hi, Cam's voice cracked slightly. Hey there, sorry about the game. Sophia, despite the obvious discomfort from the ice, lifted an eyebrow as if completely aware of the effect she was having on Cam. I can wait outside if you like. Sophia winced. No, it's fine, she groaned. Just give me a couple more minutes. I'm only allowed 5. Her hands still gripped the edge of the bath, the knuckles white, and she breathed carefully through a tiny O shape in her lips. Sophia flicked her eyes at Cam. Distract me, what's up? Well, I just wanted to grab you, talk. I just wanted to talk to you about something that came up for a story I'm writing. She gestured vaguely with her hand to the change room. Not one of my post pieces. Okay. Sophia pushed on her hands and Cam surrendered to her libido. Well, I do have eyes, for God's sake. Watching in fascination as Sophia exited the tub, one amazing muscle at a time. She trailed behind as Sophia grabbed a towel off the rack, wrapped it around her body, and strolled to the centre bench in the room. Cam shook her head softly and took her glasses off to defog the lenses on her shirt. She really needed to collect herself because she was completely out of sorts, and it was entirely the fault of the dripping woman in front of her. So thank you for telling me about your dad. I appreciate that, she said quietly. Sophia dragged the towel across her face, then up over her hair, pulling the wet strands away from her eyes. You're welcome, she responded just as quietly. He was a good guy. Cancer's a fucker, you know. Cam nodded in sympathy. I'm sorry. It was lovely to put him in context with Giancarlo and Maury. I'd like to visit them again sometime if it's okay. She paused, then smirked, projecting her voice into the room. Can you handle me revisiting your favourite haunt? Cam knew it was a fairly weak attempt, but it was all she had right then. The provocative tone she'd used, however, alerted the handful of players around them, and they slowed their movements, small smiles appearing on their lips, their eyes flitting between the two. Sophia cocked her head. Are you flirting with me? They held their gaze for a moment, and Cam was instantly reminded of the same conversation they'd had weeks ago. I'm not flirting with you, she said calmly, pushing her hair off her forehead and temples. Then she pulled the corner of her bottom lip in between her teeth, slowly dropped her gaze from Sophia's quizzical blue eyes to her lips, her breasts, then back up to her eyes, which were darkened in response to the appraisal. She leaned closer and, without breaking eye contact, spoke loudly enough for those around to hear. You'd know if I was. Instantly, hoots and hollers, like the teasing an older sister receives from her younger siblings, filled the space. Sophia blushed and a smile of acknowledgement shifted onto her lips. She slowly shook her head. Cam grinned. I'll meet you outside. And then, feeling incredibly pleased with herself, she marched through the doorway and down the corridor. Thank you.
Okay, let's everybody come back on screen now. Let's all meet as a happy group. I'm even going to join. God help us all. Okay. Excellent. There we all are. Everybody, those were great readings. And I really think that Kickback needs to be made into movie only for Ice Bath Wet Dreams. I need to see Ice Bath Wet Dreams. That's all there is to that. Thank you everybody for those readings. Now we do have some time. This is me looking at my clock. We do have some time for a Q&A. So audience members, throw any questions that you have into the Q&A in your Zoom window, and we'll get to as many as we can. But I'm going to start with a few of my own questions, if you all don't mind. Some of these are going to be very cool. Some of them are going to be have nothing to do with literature or your books in the least, because I'm feisty that way. So first of all, and we're going to start with Deborah. We're going to start with you, Deborah. If your book had a theme song, what do you think it would be? We'll come back to Deborah. It looks like she might be having some technical difficulties. So I'm going to take this over to Carolyn. Carolyn, what about you? If your book had a theme song, what do you think it might be?
That's really hard. That's a really hard question, but the book actually opens with Crimson and Clover by Joan Jett. So that's just that's the opening scene with my main character Corey singing along to that in the car while she's thinking about her new girlfriend there. So we'll just go with that.
Okay, all right. Robin and Jaimie, thoughts for you? I know this is kind of weird with
I got one, Jaimie.
Okay.
You want one too?
Mine is like really obvious. So you go.
Mine
ahead.
too.
Oh, okay.
We Are Family.
Oh, that's good. Oh,
What's
that's
yours?
good. I was just thinking because our podcast already has a theme song.
Oh, you were going to use our podcast theme song?
Yeah, we have.
Okay.
So
I mean, that works too, but I don't think anyone here knows it. So.
Yeah, We Are Family is good. Then you can go to the podcast and listen to the theme song.
Okay, great. Becky, how about you?
I think it'd have to be Chris Williamson's Song of the Soul.
Ooh, okay. Excellent. Deborah, are you back with us now? Deborah. I thought she was with us there for a second. Okay. KJ, how about you?
Well, considering that my book ends with a grand final, I was going to go with Queen's We Are the Champions, because that's, it's a sport book with a crime. So I figured they're not just the champions of the grand final, they're champions of the crime solving thing.
Okay, excellent. Okay, Deborah, are you with us?
Oh, wait, you were calling me Deborah. I'm not used to being called that.
Okay, I'm sorry, D. Jackson Leigh.
Deb, usually,
Deb.
only my work coworkers call me Deborah. So
okay, I'm sorry, Deb.
I thought you were talking to somebody else. I don't really listen to music much, so it would be hard for Blades of Bluegrass, because I really didn't have any music in my head for that one. For Kentucky, I would have to say Old Kentucky Home, because this Blades of Bluegrass wasn't just about, it was some about the military, it's a whole lot about horse breeding and horse racing in Kentucky. It was also about the Bourbon Trail, which Kentucky is famous for, and I didn't realize when I started researching. So maybe Old Kentucky Home that they play, at the Kentucky Derby.
Okay. Good answer. I like it. I like it. So we have gotten some questions here. Becky, here's one for you. How did you decide to go deep with dinosaurs?
Well, one of the themes throughout the book is birds. There have birds flitting in and out. I don't know if you picked it up. There are birds thematically throughout the book, and they are survivors of the dinosaur age. And also there is that that idea that our age, the older lesbians, our era is fading, kind of coming to an end. The new generation is coming up. They've got their own lingo and their own values. And so we're kind of being replaced as we go out. And so it's a way of showing the ground kind of shifting under the older lesbians. And besides, I think dinosaurs are just cool.
and then there's that. And then there's that. Okay. Excellent. Okay. I'm going to come back to the Q&A in just a moment. But now what I want to know, and Deb, got it right this time. Deb, we're going to start with you. What was your favorite board game as a child? Or the one you remember most clearly?
We played Monopoly a lot.
Were you good at it?
I was okay. I was better at card games. We played a lot of card games with my mom. Was a stay-at-home mom until I was 12. And when she got bored, she would make us come inside and play cards with her.
There you go. And we could call that homeschooling.
Yes.
KJ, how about you as a child? What was your favorite board game? Or let's just expand this. What's your favorite game?
Scrabble. But I play board games now. I've got a 11-year-old son, when we do a lot of board games, and we've got this game it's called Sushi Go, and it's so much fun, and it's literally a card game with all these little pictures of sushi things, and you have to build up points and all that sort of stuff. So it's fun. It's like learning Japanese food without having to go to a sushi restaurant, because I'm highly allergic to fish. So that's fun.
That's good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Becky, how about you?
I think it'd have to be dominoes. We played a version called Muggins, where you add up the ends of the various octopus strands going out, and they have to add up to a 5 or a 10 or a 0 ending. And so it was really good mathematically for us to just keep track of all these numbers. It drives Nancy nuts when we play now, because I can just look at it and just add things up really quickly, and she's just got to count.
Okay, excellent.
And we played.
Robin and Jaimie, how about you guys?
Oh, you go, Robin. You go first.
All right, I'm going to go with backgammon or spades.
Yeah, growing up.
That's where I went. Yeah, that's where it's true.
Oh, I don't know. I think it was Life. I think I love the game Life.
Oh, that was a good one.
Which is kind of funny regarding the book we just wrote, I guess. But they need to come up with a gay version.
An LGBTQ Life.
Yeah. What's that about?
Yeah, with the little pink and blue.
Yeah.
So
So gendered.
Carolyn, did you have one?
I am a terrible board game player. I couldn't sit through a board game when I was a child. I have the attention span of a gnat, and I would get bored very easily, and I would just get up and walk away. And I have 2 children now, and I cannot play a board game with them. It has to be a game that's very quick, that has a definitive end to. I won't even allow Monopoly in this house. Like, if they want to go out and play basketball, I'm their mom, but they have another mom that they can do the games with, because I'm the worst, absolute worst. I couldn't even name you one that I could sit through when I was a kid.
Okay, yeah, Monopoly can become the game that never ends. It definitely can. Okay, Becky, we're going back to the Q&A box. And so now we have the question of, what does your title, A Light on Altered Land, mean?
There's a lot packed into that title. One of the main things is that the altered land refers to shifting ground. Ellie and Catherine have had major upheavals in their lives, divorce, widowhood, retirement, things, their ground is shifting. For Ellie, it's also the feel of losing the lesbian nation. The light is illumination and trying to understand what's happening on this shifting ground.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And now we have a question for KJ.
Okay, cool.
Which actually, I'm going to merge this into my next question. So I'm going to kind of open this up for everybody after KJ answers. So you've just published another bestseller. Massive congratulations.
Thank you.
What is next for you?
Okay. In Coming Home and Art of Magic, there is a character called Felicity, who is the principal of Rawson Girls Grammar, and she and Tal, this, a non-binary, very good-looking sort of character. This is the story of them getting together. Because I wanted to write it, but I had a whole pile of people actually direct message me and open message me and say, well, when's their story coming? So this story is called Ignis, and it's all about burn and ignite, and it's quite a powerful story about how these two get together. So there you go.
Okay, excellent. Carolyn, how about you? What's next on the horizon for you?
Oh, okay. I have my next book is with Bella already. It's actually been there for a while. We're working up the cover right now. It should be released in January. It's called The Raven and the Banshee, and there are not enough lesbian pirate books in the world, so I took it upon myself to write one, and I describe it as a swashbuckling, bodice-ripping lesbian pirate adventure.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh.
Yes.
So
It is that.
We have that to look forward to. Okay, excellent. Deb, how about you? What's coming up next for you?
My next book comes out in July, I believe, in time for GCLS. It's called Unbridled, and it is it's one of my more erotic novels. I try to switch it up a bit, and it's about a woman who teaches writing, and a woman who is a writer. It's my first full-length first-person novel.
Ooh.
I've written short stories in first person, but I usually write in third person, and this one is first person all the way.
Okay, excellent. Great. Jaimie and Robin, you got something that you're working on now coming up?
I mean, just world domination. That's where we're and representing more LGBTQ stories. Right?
We're always, yeah. I mean, this book is just the first 2 seasons of our podcast, and we're into season 7 now. So we could, the first 3 seasons. Robin's always correcting me. I wrote the book, and I should know. But so we could always have an addendum to that, or we could also have all of you guys on the podcast at some point for an interview. I think that might be a good idea.
Yes.
There you go. That
Sky's
could
the
be
limit.
fun. Yeah, because we've got a few parents happening in here too. That's
Yeah,
great.
we just heard.
And Becky, how about you? You got something coming up?
Yes, I'm in the process of revising my first novel that came out in the 90s called Sinister Paradise. And it's going to be a second edition, heavily revised. I am putting in a lot more romance and heating it up. So it was what takes place in Greece. Classics professor gets into some intrigue. And so it was pretty much a suspense novel back then, and now I'm adding a lot more romance to it.
Okay, great. And Becky, there, like the Q&A is kind of filled up with questions specifically for you. If you're able to go into the Q&A and type some answers to those questions,
I will do that.
That would be great because, like I said, it's just filling.
Oh, okay.
But now we do have a specific question for Carolyn. What special challenges came from writing a sequel, especially those you didn't anticipate?
Spelling people's names correctly the second time. I wrote the whole sequel and realized I had spelled a last name like completely different than it was originally spelled. I have no experience as an author, and I didn't know that you were supposed to like keep and my editor just got on my case about doing this, and I can't even remember what she called it, like a notebook of your characters, like a character sheets or something like that. I didn't know you were supposed to do that. I still haven't done that. But I think one of the biggest challenges is keeping it fresh. Like it's marketed as a romance that carries along with the same couple. So it's not the meet and fall in love every time. It's that these characters have now been together again. Is it still romantic? And how to make it keep it romantic, and come up with a new dead body for every time. So we got a romance to keep fresh, and we got a new dead body that is frequently not fresh, or sometimes really is fresh, and then we have to sort of navigate all of those, and keep it interesting.
Okay. And Deb, we've got someone who wants to know, Tammy Lynn wants to know, will there be another book in the Dragon Horse series?
I've thought about that. Don't know. I've got another couple of books in my head that would be ahead of that, but I might one day do another Dragon Horse book, one that will pick up with the young one that Skylar, that was born, is born in JL's clone, a clone of JL. So I might do that. I've got some other books to write before that, but I am retiring from my day job next month, and I hope to write more books now since I don't have a day job. I won't have a day job in another month. I'm so excited about being able to do that because I love to write books so much.
Okay, all right. And Jaimie and Robin, Carolyn actually asked a question in the chat. I'm not sure if you guys answered this privately with her or not, but I think it's a good question. Are all of the interviews and experiences with LGBTQ families in the States?
No. In the book, the first 3 seasons, I think we have some from the UK. Correct me if I'm forgetting any.
I think just the UK in the book. I think a couple different, like a sperm donor and then a single mom by choice, and I think that's it in the book.
But since then, the seasons of the podcast, it's kind of expanded to many.
Yeah, we've had Australia, a couple of Australian episodes. We are interviewing someone who's in Japan right now, so
kind of all over.
more international.
Well,
there.
if you need a Canadian representative, I'm yeah.
We have Canada in the book.
We've
but
had
yes,
so
we
yeah,
always
that's,
need
that's
more.
so funny because we're all the same.
We forgot.
But we will always take more. Yes, totally. 100%.
Yes, and Carolyn, for the love of God, reach out to us. We'd love to have you.
Please.
Yes, I would love to, because I started my family in the States and then moved to Canada and grew my family. So
Yes.
I've got contrasting opinions about how that all works out.
Ooh, would love to hear. Would love to hear.
Ovariestalk@gmail.com. Okay. All right.
Yeah, Carolyn has opinions.
I do have opinions.
We love
as do we. We love it.
We love it.
And since we're kind of here, we actually have another question for Jaimie and Robin. Looking back on your book, what would you have done differently, if anything?
I wish that we had been able to include like one or two more seasons, but at some point we could have gotten even more like family stories, because it was just at some point we had to stop transcribing and pulling to actually do the book. So I wish we could have gotten a couple more variations. I don't know, Jaimie?
I don't know. I don't know if I would have done anything different with our process. It took us a while. We did it. We busted it out. But I think going forward, if we were to do another one, I wish we were still transcribing as we were recording episodes, so that when we sit down to write this book, we don't have to start transcribing again. That's what I wish for the future.
I wish we had a budget to pay someone to transcribe the episodes so that we didn't spend 72 million hours in Starbucks away from our family transcribing.
Yeah. There's that. Lots
of writing in Starbucks.
Well, is your podcast audio only, or is it also video?
It's audio. Well,
we have video now too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's audio only, the podcast format, but on our Patreon, we have a level where you can watch the recorded videos.
Okay.
We also have a live stream on Thursdays that we do that is video.
So. Yeah. Because just a little thing for everybody, this particular session right now is being, we have live captions happening right now. And there's a transcription, and it's through rev.com. So check out rev.com.
Good to know. Will do.
Yeah, it's very reasonable.
Okay.
Very, very reasonable.
Good to know.
I can guarantee they won't have my accent right, and there'll be all sorts of interesting things that they would have said that I didn't say.
Actually, I was watching the captions while you were doing your reading, and it was perfectly clear.
That's amazing. That never happens for an Australian, because we don't have vowels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who needs vowels? Come on.
We don't in Australia. That we don't know what vowels are.
Yeah.
It's just funny because the transcription service we used, like, we had to correct every single word. I mean, it was painful.
Well, part of it is we would have 4 people's voices, and it just couldn't differentiate between, so we had to clean up and assign title, like who was who.
Yeah. I mean, this obviously will have a little bit of, you got to assign who did what. But the actual words, very, very little of me going, that is totally not what she said. So it was pretty good. So yeah, check out rev.com, and that goes for everybody. Yeah, that goes for everybody. Okay, so we're getting to a point now. We've hit an hour. And I try to do my best to keep these to as close to an hour as possible, so that I'm not taking up your entire lives. Even though I could sit here and talk to you all for hours.
I need to go to sleep.
That would be a joy for me. It would not be a joy for you. And eventually we would see KJ just fall over asleep. Special thanks actually to KJ, because it is now what, 2:00 in the morning for you?
Absolutely. I'm speaking to you from the future. You're going to have great days.
Okay. Yeah. So it's actually May 16th for KJ, and it's 2:00 in the morning. So she stayed up very late to join us today. So thank you for that.
I'm not going to bed. I may as well stay awake.
There you go. You can go write some more books. So thank you to everyone for joining us today. Congratulations on being named a Goldie finalist. Tell you what, those judges, they are discerning judges. So you're shortlisted, man. That's awesome. That is awesome. And I hope that everyone will decide to join us at our conference in July. If you go to goldencrown.org and just scroll down, and you'll see a big red ribbon that says conference. Click on that, and there's all kinds of information there, how to register, advertising, sponsorships, all kinds of stuff. Please check us out. That would be great. Everyone, thank you so much for your time. Wild applause from me and from our audience. Well done. And this will be recorded, so be on the lookout for it on YouTube.
Thank you, Carleen.
Thanks,
you.
Carleen.
Thanks,
for having
everyone.
us.
Have a great, great day.